Hello, today I'm going to speak about a community of practice topic, and today's topic is communication and collaboration in communities forums. And indeed, I have mentioned before that there are two kinds of the community of practice. A community of practice can be either real, in face-to-face learning format, or a community of practice could be virtual. And in both forms, people somehow cooperate and they communicate for learning purposes. So practitioners, different specialists in the particular field, they have certain discussion, certain presentation, certain demonstration, and they learn from each other and again, very practical or tacit knowledge. So the question is how community of practice forums organized in case of face-to-face learning format or in case the virtual learning format. So forums is something, a group of people in the forum that communicate to each other and cooperate, having very open discussion on the particular topic in the field. So in the case of the real community of practice learning forums, usually a community of practice and members of community of practice gather at the particular learning space and they start particular discussions and presentations. This kind of learning or this form of learning, when the community of practice members learning in the forum format, is very similar and close to the conference learning format, when the community members do at the first part of the conference different general presentation, and they are afterwards they are separated and they doing some workshop or doing some specific work in the groups or teams. Another way saying they're working in the sections. So first part of the learning in the conference is a general presentation, and afterwards the all conference audience are divided into the particular section and they work in the particular sections, doing either practical work or doing very concrete presentation on the particular topics. And afterwards, the leaders of the separate section represents what have been achieved or what results have been presented in the section to all the audience of the conference. So very similar community of practice forum works when the community of practice members gather at the real time and they communicate face-to-face manner. In the case of the virtual communities, virtual community of practice, community members do different online discussions, online forums, and this kind of discussions are very popular nowadays in the different kind of communities, not only community of practice. It can be either gaming community, it can be travelers community, or any other kind of professional communities existing in nowadays internet. So in forums, community members or just people, usual people, discuss particular issues they are interested in. They can open themselves, even the topic, define the topic, and attract members to discuss on particular issue. It can be question, it can be problem, it can be issue, but however, the main aim of the forum to have an open discussion in the particular community in order to achieve certain results or solve particular problem. And what is interesting that both of those forms of learning and learning in the forums are very important. It can either in the face-to-face manner or in the virtual manner. Of course, in face-to-face manner, people socialize directly. They communicate to each other, they express themselves each other, they are giving prompt response from the other parties and other people, other specialists, other practitioners. In the case of the forum, usually people pose a question or post an issue online, and they are waiting for the response of the others, and they are being provided with a very different kind of response. And response in case of asynchronous communication and the online communication in forum is asynchronic communication, when you pose the question and you're waiting for the answer, and you can be given a lot of different kind of answer, and a lot of participants could respond to the request or could respond to your notice, and you can be given a lot of different response, different consideration concerning the problem or concerning issue. That's why the communities of practice forums online is more complicated to manage for educational purpose, because you can be given very different kind of information, maybe surplus information that are not necessary for even problem solving or for the issue you are raising. So this is very interesting to emphasize. The community of practice forums that are proceeded online is much more complicated and difficult to manage, to facilitate. That's why community of practice facilitators must be taken into account when they're trying to manage and to facilitate community of practice online forums. They must be ready to facilitate the discussion online, and make sure that discussion online in the forum maintains certain ethical standards and maintains certain structure and maintains certain clarity. So in order to maintain ethical standards, in order to maintain clarity, and in order to maintain a certain structure, facilitator must set the certain rules for communication and collaboration. Of course, it can be ethical standards, it can be the form and rules of the putting response in the community and putting the answers. Also, what can be done by the facilitators themselves. Each month, or even maybe rare or often, it depends on intensity of the discussion. Community of practice facilitator, in case of forums communication online, he or she should be able to do certain reflection files of the forum discussion. In the reflection files, usually community of practice facilitator summarize the essence of the problem and summarize the essence of solutions that have worked in the practice. Other way saying, when community of practice member or practitioner connects to particular forum, he or she does not need to scan all the text in, maybe that would be very huge, and he just checks the reflection files and checks the solutions in the forums of community of practice, and that very simplifies the discussion and it simplifies problem solving in the community of practice forums. So summarizing, what is important to notice, that of course community of practice forums that are implemented in face-to-face learning format, when community members meet each other and they have presentation, they have discussion, or they have workshop. Of course, face-to-face learning format in the forums of community of practice much more efficient and much more socializing, because it is prompt discussion, it's a prompt communication. In case the community of practice in online forums is much more difficult to manage and much more difficult to facilitate, because it is very asynchronous communication, and this asynchronic factor express needs to have very competent facilitators that could be able to facilitate discussion, to make productive reflection files, to clarify requests, to clarify answers, and connect very different kind of people, letting them to learn from each other in the community of practice.